My sister Vanessa has a very specific way of looking at people. She tilts her chin up, narrows her eyes, and stares down her nose like she's inspecting a stain on a silk rug. Last Sunday, I was the stain. I was sitting in the kitchen of the house I grew up in, drinking a cup of cheap instant coffee. Vanessa walked in, threw a heavy manila envelope onto the table, and said the words that would eventually ruin her life. Sign it, Leo. It's an agreement. You stay in the basement. You don't come upstairs when I have guests. You don't park in the driveway. And you pay me $800 a month for the privilege of living in my house. I looked at the envelope. Then I looked at her. She was wearing a Gucci belt that cost more than my car, or at least, the car she thought I drove. She had that smug, victorious smirk plastered across her face, the look of someone who thinks they've won the lottery. And, if I don't sign? I asked quietly. She laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. Then you're homeless, little brother. I'm taking over the deed next week. Mom agreed. So enjoy the basement, or enjoy the street. Those are your options. I didn't sign the paper. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just took a sip of my coffee and checked my watch. Because Vanessa didn't know that the deed she was talking about, it wasn't Mom's to give. And the basement she wanted to lock me in? Technically, that was the only part of the house she was ever going to see again. To understand why my sister treated me like a cockroach, you have to understand the mythology of our family. I'm Leo. I'm 29. To my family, I am the definition of failure to launch. I live in the basement of my parents' 4-bedroom suburban home. I wear oversized hoodies and faded jeans. I drive a dented 2012 Toyota Corolla. I spend most of my day on my computer with noise-canceling headphones on. To them, I'm an unemployed gamer who refuses to grow up. To the rest of the world, I'm a lead back-end developer for one of the largest fintech companies in the world. I also consult for 3 startups. My annual income puts me in the top 1% of earners in the state. I have a diversified portfolio. I have offshore accounts. I have enough liquidity to buy this entire neighborhood if I felt like it. So, why do I live in a damp basement? 5 years ago, my dad had a massive stroke. He survived, but he couldn't work anymore. The medical bills were astronomical. My mom, who had never worked a day in her life, was panic-stricken. The bank was calling every day. They were 3 months away from foreclosure. My sister, Vanessa? She was nowhere to be found. She was living in the city with her finance bro boyfriend, posting photos of her brunches and her vacations to Tulum. When Mom called her crying about the house, Vanessa said, "Well, maybe you should downsize to a trailer. I can't help you. My lifestyle is expensive. I couldn't watch my parents lose everything. So, I made a deal with them. A secret deal. I paid off the entire mortgage. One lump sum. $250,000. I paid the property taxes. I paid the medical bills. But I had one condition. Nobody tells Vanessa. I knew my sister. I knew if she found out I had money, she would bleed me dry. She would guilt-trip me, manipulate me, and demand I fund her vanity projects. So, we told a lie. We told everyone that the bank restructured the loan and allowed us to stay. In exchange, I moved into the basement to help out and pay a small rent. It was perfect cover. I saved money, I took care of my parents, and I kept my peace. For 5 years, I played the role of the loser son. I fixed the leaking faucets. I mowed the lawn. I carried Dad up and down the stairs. Meanwhile, Vanessa only visited on holidays to criticize the decor and ask Mom for gas money. But recently, things changed. Dad passed away 6 months ago, and suddenly, Vanessa was visiting a lot more often. She smelled blood in the water. She sniffed out that Mom was lonely and vulnerable, and she decided it was time to claim her inheritance. The Sunday of the ultimatum wasn't just a random visit, it was a planned invasion. Vanessa didn't just come alone, she brought her new fiancé, Todd. Todd was a real estate agent, the kind who wears suits that are too tight and uses too much hair gel. He looked at our house not like a home, but like a pile of money waiting to be extracted. I was in the kitchen when they arrived. I was making a sandwich. It smells like mediocrity in here, Vanessa announced as she walked in. She didn't say hello. She just breezed past me, her heels clicking aggressively on the tile. Mom was sitting at the dining table, looking small and tired. "Hi, honey," Mom said weakly. "Did you bring the pastries?" "Better," Vanessa said, slamming a heavy binder onto the table. "I brought the plans." She turned to Todd. "Show her." Todd opened the binder. It was full of architectural renderings. "Okay, Barb," Todd said, addressing my mother like a client. "Here's the vision. We knock down this wall, open concept kitchen. We rip out the carpet, put in gray vinyl flooring, very trendy, and the basement." He looked at me and sneered. "The basement becomes a rental unit, or a home gym. Either way, we gut it." I stopped making my sandwich. "You're gutting my room?" I asked. Vanessa spun around. "It's not your room, Leo. It's storage space that you've been infesting. And yes, we're gutting it. Todd says this house could be worth 800 grand if we flip it right." "Flip it?" I looked at Mom. "Mom, you're selling the house." Mom looked down at her hands. She was trembling. "Vanessa thinks, she thinks it's best," Mom whispered. "She says I can move into a condo near her, and she and Todd will handle the sale." "Handle the sale?" I laughed dryly. "You mean keep the profit?" Vanessa's eyes flashed. "Excuse me? I am taking care of Mom." "You? What do you do?" "You sit downstairs playing video games and eating Mom's food. You're a parasite, Leo. A 30-year-old parasite." She walked up to me, invading my personal space. I could smell her perfume, something floral and overpowering, trying to hide the scent of her desperation. "Here is the reality check, Leo," she hissed. "Mom signed power of attorney over to me yesterday. She's confused. She's old. She needs someone competent to manage her assets. That's me." My blood ran cold. Power of attorney. She had manipulated Mom while I was at a conference last week. "So," Vanessa continued, her voice dripping with venom, "here is the new world order. Todd and I are moving in upstairs to oversee the renovations. You have two choices. Option A. You stay in the basement, you keep quiet, and you pay us rent. Option B. You get out today." She pointed to the basement door. "I suggest you go downstairs and start packing your comic books, because starting tomorrow, I'm changing the locks on the front door. You'll use the side entrance like the service staff." Todd laughed. "Yeah, buddy. Service entrance. Don't want you scaring the buyers." I looked at Mom. She was crying silently. She knew the truth about the house, but she was too terrified of Vanessa's rage to speak up. She was trapped. But she forgot one thing. She wasn't the owner. Power of attorney allows you to manage someone's assets. It doesn't allow you to sell property that doesn't belong to them. "I'm not paying you rent, Vanessa," I said calmly. "Then get out," she screamed. "Get out of my house. Right now. I don't want to see your face." "It's not your house," I said. "It will be," she shrieked. "I'm the heir. I'm the eldest. You are nothing. Now get out before I call the police and have you removed as a trespasser." I leaned against the counter and crossed my arms. "Call them," I challenged her. Todd stepped forward, puffing out his chest. "Listen, pal. Don't test her. We'll throw your junk on the lawn." "Call the police," I repeated, staring dead into Vanessa's eyes. "Do it. I want you to." She grabbed her phone. Her hands were shaking with rage. "Fine. You want to be humiliated? You want the neighbors to see you getting dragged out in handcuffs? Fine." She dialed 911. "Yes. I have an intruder. My brother. He's refusing to leave my property. He's being aggressive. I'm scared for my life. Please come quickly." She hung up and smiled. A shark smile. "You're done, Leo. You are so done." It took 12 minutes for the police to arrive. In those 12 minutes, Vanessa and Todd started moving things. They took my framed degree off the wall and threw it in the trash. They started discussing which wall to knock down first. They treated me like I was already a ghost. When the doorbell rang, Vanessa practically ran to answer it. Two officers stood there. One was an older sergeant, looking tired. The other was a rookie. "Officer, thank God," Vanessa cried, putting on her damsel in distress act. "He's in the kitchen. He threatened us. He refuses to leave." The officers walked into the kitchen. I stayed leaning against the counter. "Sir," the sergeant said, "is this your residence?" "Yes," I said. "It is not." Vanessa screamed. He's a squatter! He's a guest who overstayed his welcome. I want him gone. The sergeant held up a hand to silence her. Ma'am, keep your voice down. Sir, do you have ID? I pulled out my wallet and handed him my license. And you, ma'am. Vanessa handed over hers. Look, I have power of attorney for my mother, Barbara. She owns this house. I represent her. And I am revoking his permission to stay. The sergeant looked at Mom. Ma'am, is this true? Mom looked at me, then at Vanessa. She was shaking. I just want everyone to stop fighting. See, Vanessa yelled. She's terrified of him. Officer, remove him. I cleared my throat. Officer, I said calmly, before you remove anyone, I think you should check who actually owns this property. Todd snorted. We know who owns it, genius. Your mom does. Check the county records. I told the officer. It's public information. You can do it on your dispatch computer. The sergeant looked at me. He saw how calm I was. He saw that I wasn't the one screaming. Wait here, he said. He walked out to his cruiser. The rookie stayed with us. The room was silent. The only sound was the refrigerator humming and Vanessa tapping her foot impatiently. You're stalling, she hissed. It doesn't matter. You're leaving. 5 minutes passed. Then the sergeant walked back in. His face had changed. He wasn't looking at me with suspicion anymore. He was looking at Vanessa with confusion. He held a printed sheet of paper in his hand. Ma'am, the sergeant said to Vanessa, you said your mother owns this house. Yes, for 30 years. Well, the sergeant looked at the paper. According to the county assessor's database, Barbara Miller hasn't owned this property for 5 years. Vanessa froze. What? The title was transferred 5 years ago. The officer continued. To a Leonard J. Miller. The officer turned to me. That's you, correct? That's me, I said. The silence in the room was absolute. It was heavy. It was suffocating. Vanessa blinked. Once. Twice. No, she whispered. That's a mistake. The computer is wrong. The deed is recorded, ma'am, the officer said firmly. This gentleman owns the house. Sole owner. No mortgage. Vanessa spun around to face Mom. Mom? What is he talking about? Tell him. Mom wiped a tear from her cheek. She finally looked up. It's true, Vanessa, Mom said softly. The bank was taking the house. Leo bought it. He paid everything. He saved us. Vanessa looked like she had been slapped. Her face went pale, then bright red. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Todd dropped the binder of renovations onto the floor with a loud thud. You own it, Todd stammered, looking at me with wide eyes. Wait, if you own it, then we can't sell it. Correct, I said. I pushed myself off the counter and walked toward them. For the first time in years, I stood up to my full height. I didn't slouch. I didn't look down. You called the police to remove a trespasser, I said to Vanessa. She stuttered. You were right to do that, I said. I turned to the officer. Officer, I would like to report 2 trespassers. They have threatened me. They have damaged my property. I pointed to my degree in the trash, and they are refusing to leave. Vanessa's eyes bulged. You can't kick me out. I'm your sister. My sister. I laughed. 5 minutes ago, I was a parasite. 5 minutes ago, I was a stain. 5 minutes ago, you were going to lock me in the basement and charge me rent to live in my own house. I walked over to the table and picked up the renovation plans binder. Todd, I said, this is garbage. Your design is tacky, your materials are cheap, and frankly, you smell like desperation. I threw the binder into the trash can, right on top of my degree. Hey, Todd shouted. Officer, I said sharply. I want them gone. Now. Ma'am, sir. The sergeant stepped forward, hand resting near his belt. The owner has asked you to leave. You need to vacate the premises immediately. But Mom lives here, Vanessa shrieked, clutching at straws. Mom is my tenant, I said. A tenant I love and respect. You? You are a guest. A bad guest. And your invitation is revoked. Vanessa started to cry. Not the fake, manipulative tears she used on Mom. These were real tears of humiliation. She realized the money was gone. The flip was gone. The power was gone. "Leo, please," she sobbed. "We gave up our apartment lease. We were planning to move in today. We have nowhere to go." I looked at her. I remembered the manila envelope she threw at me. I remembered the way she looked at me like I was dirt. "You have nowhere to go?" I asked. "No. Please, Leo. Be reasonable." "Okay," I said. "I'll be reasonable." Her face lit up with hope. "Really?" "Yes." I smiled. "I heard there's a lovely shelter downtown. Or maybe you can find a basement somewhere to rent. I hear 800 a month is the going rate." "You bastard!" she screamed, lunging at me. The rookie officer caught her arm and spun her around. "Okay, that's enough," the officer said. "Ma'am, you're coming with us. We can add assault to the trespassing charge if you want." I watched as they were escorted out. Todd was trying to apologize to the sergeant. Vanessa was wailing, screaming that I had stolen her inheritance, that I was a thief, a liar. The neighbors were watching from their porches. They saw the queen of the family being dragged toward a police cruiser while her loser brother stood in the doorway, drinking his coffee. They didn't get arrested, but they got a warning they'll never forget. I changed the locks an hour later. Mom and I had a long talk. She cried. She apologized for not standing up for me sooner. I forgave her. She's old, and she was scared. But things are different now. I hired a real contractor, not Todd, to renovate the house. Properly. We turned the basement into a home theater. My home theater. And the master bedroom? Mom stays there rent-free, as long as she wants. As for Vanessa, she and Todd broke up 2 weeks later when he realized there was no money coming. Last I heard, she's staying on a friend's couch, complaining to anyone who will listen about how her evil brother stole her birthright. She still sends me angry texts demanding her share of the house. I don't reply. I just send her a screenshot of the deed. And then I go back to enjoying my house. My house. If you enjoyed this story of sweet, legal revenge, hit that like button and subscribe. And remember, never judge a book by its cover. And never judge a brother by his hoodie. You never know who's actually signing the checks. See you in the next one.